Oh, that's right. Hey everyone, it's Peter, aka Pad, Peter A. DeLuca, your boy. We're coming at you, day 17 of the 31 Days of Dread, a Dream Warriors podcast annual event where we celebrate Halloween for one day, for 31 straight days. That's right, it's one horror movie a day coming at you hot. So let's hit that music, you hear those sounds, and I'll be right back. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Hey, we're back. And I'm Peter, your host, your boy, your bro. Yeah, we're doing horror movies. It's one a day for the entire month of October. Isn't that exciting? Doesn't that just get you going? Why horror? Why Halloween? Why this celebration? Well, hold up. Give me a second here. I'm gonna have to take a sip of my smoldering hot coffee. I'm not supposed to be doing that. That's unprofessional. But the Dream Warrior Studio is developing a little bit of a draft that quickly. Here in Philly, it's been amazing because a week ago we were sweating and now we're bundled up. That is how quickly fall rolls into the East Coast here in the U.S. And that's where I'm coming to you from. Center City, Philadelphia. Maybe one of the greatest cities in the entire world. I know we like to talk about New York and Paris and Tokyo and LA and Madrid and so on and so forth. But oh my God, does Philly have a lot of character. There's just so much here. The city's expanding. It's constantly scaling up. And like broadening, and I don't know, boy, I have to say, I love Philadelphia. I enjoy my time here. But yeah, I'm Peter, and I'm just a guy with a podcast that we do movies, we do television, we do streaming, we do comics. We even actually dabble in wrestling, pro wrestling, and pro football, American football, by the way. And I'm classifying things as America because based on the analytics, my God, I think we're getting out there in overseas. We got a lot of people in Canada listening now. So if you are from Canada, thank you. And look, everyone, collectively, you can monitor what I'm doing. You can follow me at AKAPAD on the Twitter, where there's more constant updates. There's more of a conscious stream rollout. But if you're into Inktober and drawing, Inktoober is a annual event on Instagram. It's a challenge where you do one drawing a day for the month of October, and you have a prompt. The prompts are created by Jake Parker, and you can just add your own theme to those prompts. And this year my theme is the foes of Batman. So it's one Batman villain a day, in conjunction, potentially parallel to the prompt. And sometimes it needs a little bit of an explanation, which I do right. But you can find those at AKAPad13. You can find me in Snapchat, aka Pad, where I roughly do one theme a day. I've been a little bit slow with that. I've been a little bit guilty. People have DM'd me already on Snapchat looking to see where I'm at, and I have to get back into it. You're right. But yeah, so Day 15, Apostle, the Netflix exclusive. Opened up this Pandora's box, pun intended for that one, and it was this idea that I could collect colonial movies, like almost like old English horror. I'm really fighting to define what this stretch is, but we're at number 3 now with A Field in England, and it's amazing. That this movie even shows up on someone's radar, that they know to jump into it, because this movie came and went. Doug Wheatley, the director, the creative mind behind this movie, he made a movie with a super low budget that became a calling card, and the guy's been busy ever since. I have not seen any other movie from him. But I know he did High Rise. I think that Loki's in that. What's his name? Uh, Josh Middleton, maybe. I'm butchering his name, but the Loki guy from the Infinity War is in that movie, and hey, it looks like he's been busy ever since. That's the point I'm getting at. He made a calling card with a field in England, and it wholeheartedly has paid off. So, bravo to Doug for playing the game, and looks like you won. Excuse me, I am going to chug some coffee. Okay, oh my god, that just feels good going in. That's what she said. But yeah, so how do we describe this movie? How do we describe this movie? Okay, this movie is it just reminds me of a high end. It's a high end art film. It's a high end student film. It is perfectly executed. It's thought out. It's hard to imagine this movie being any better with a larger budget. Okay, and by that I mean I'm positive this movie could have $10 million more added to it, and I'm not sure if we're going to get a different product. And that's interesting, isn't it? It's almost like if you watch like 12 Angry Men. How much more could you have added? The Sidney Lumet 12 Angry Men, not any remake, the original. A-holes, come on, stick with me on this. Write it down if you have to. Like how much more money could 12 Angry Men improve that? How much more money could be improved with Reservoir Dogs? I'm just picking like low scene movies, and the movie was like clearly potentially designed around a look, some silhouettes, some shots that maybe like Doug wanted to string together. So, and then we get into like what's the point, what's the plot? Well, it takes place during the English Civil War, which I know nothing about, and I'm a history buff, but not a world history buff. I like U.S. history. And everyone is dressed in their old timey gear. I'm going to just butcher the accuracy of some of this coming up. And we have a like couple deserters. These guys are not fighting the fight. They rather go off. So they kind of go off and like somewhere in like a search for treasure in this field during this battle. And they drift so far away from the battle that the sounds and the noises of the battle fades, and fades. And then during this, so it's very interesting. I thought these guys like get camp and they start to make food, and the one guy picks mushrooms, and so I'm thinking like, oh, those are gonna be like shrooms, and that's kind of like gonna be like the horror hook. Is that these guys have been through war, they take these shrooms, and then they're just going to go mad, and maybe some horrific things are going to happen. So what happens isn't so much horror, but like what happens is like a twisting of the psyche, and as a viewer, as an audience member, it's very difficult to watch this movie with ease, because it is a black and white movie, and there's a combination of shots at times that are just meant to make you feel uncomfortable, and it does have a effect, and a lot of times so that's a little bit what I mean by like art film and student film, where sometimes like you're so ambitious when you make a movie when you're younger and you don't know any better, like you think you're doing something meaningful and deep, and it just comes off as corny and inexperienced, and this doesn't come off that way. It's definitely a movie that is with full intent and understanding of its surroundings. The execution is there. I forward this movie to people. Like, people should understand and watch this movie more and more. Why? Because there's only so many of these movies that exist. There's only so many of them that are watchable. Okay, and like I know watchable might be like a mean thing to say to some of the other ones because hey, I'm a guy that recommended Body Melt a couple days ago. That should I should have to turn in some geek card at that point. Maybe load again gun and point it to my head. But no, look, it's this idea of like what are we trying to do with film? What are our expectations of some of these filmmakers? What are we looking for when we sit down? So what I was looking for in this movie, and like as soon as I saw it was black and white, the setting, the limited atmosphere, I thought I'm like, oh, this is just going to build and build and build, and then we're going to get some like gory stuff at the end. We're going to get these guys like eating one another or just something weird, and that didn't happen. Now characters die, but characters also return. They come back, and this is where like I would have to kind of continue to watch the movie to develop theories and thoughts on it. Maybe to the point that a video might serve my analysis better over talking to you long form on the podcast, because that's a lot of what Dream Warrior is all about. Dream Warriors is all about long form conversation, period. And a good example of that would be my obsession now with Devil's Candy, because I was recommended to me by Mark, my friend. And I honestly gotta trust every single opinion he has on everything. But he recommended this, and to me, it was a complete misfire, despite having high ratings across the board. So I'm a huge outlier on the Devil's Candy movie, because I feel like sometimes atmosphere and the way something is shot, it doesn't really classify it as horror or what it is. Horror in a movie is a lot like this. It's a lot like A Field in England, where the movie itself represents an uneasiness. It doesn't. It represents something, that makes you anxious. Okay, and it's not just like kind of like our upcoming movie like It Follows, where like it's like clearly intentional within that scene. See, every time you watch A Field in England, your emotions, your thoughts, what you're paying attention to, what you're processing drifts into another area. So it really isn't like, just for example, when we compare movie to movie and analysis to analysis, every time you watch a movie like Independence Day, your thoughts go one way, one time, all the time. And that's where like we get addicted to movies, because some feelings and emotions are connected to them, and we can re-experience it whenever we want while we're watching the movie. A Field in England is meant to play with you, and I think your mental state and where you are in life largely affects where you put this movie in your like emotional spectrum every time you watch it. And this is where Doug Wheatley deserves adulation, because like we hear about filmmakers like George Lucas will say, oh, when Red Tails came out, he's like, no, I'm staying away from all this stuff. I'm going to get back to making like art house movies and this and that. Like I'm going to return to low budget filmmaking. A lot of people seem to say this in the twilight of their career. And I would like, if George Lucas came out and made this movie, it would be like the biggest thing on earth. Like comparatively speaking, meaning that it would be the biggest art house movie ever made. There's so much of this movie that did remind me of THX 1138, George Lucas's live action / student film, because it has the mindfulness of someone with ambition. Where they wanted to analyze the thought process, where they wanted to play with your emotions. And like there's a slow motion shot in this movie where this guy comes out of a tent wrapped in he's wrapped in this rope, and it's just like this slow motion. He's grinning, and it's like this crawl, like he's just like walking, and then it jumps into this like playful music, and they're chasing him through the field, with the rope still attached to his chest, and it's just like weird and it's creepy, and they're like these guys are like it goes to them digging a hole. They're digging for the treasure, and like even at the time, it's symbolic for them digging their grave, but they're digging for treasure, and like there's a symbolism even there. And the one guy like uncovers a skull, and it's just really deep, and it's not pretentious. Like people might say it's pretentious of its existence, like something like this existing is pretentious, but I don't buy it. For old English horror, this is a true psychological triumph. I can't think of another movie that was as psychologically powerful as this, that you would watch with someone, and like both of you will have like a different explanation for it. Oh geez. That is art, that is filmmaking, and I think as audience members, we're better. We're like as a collective review, as a collective community. Doug Wheatley. Am I even saying his name right? Right? It's Doug Wheatley. Ben Wheatley. I'm so sorry. Ben Wheatley. Contributes a lot. He contributes so much to that conversation. And real quick, because I just clicked on his wiki. So this movie came out in 2013. Okay, he is from the school of the ABCs of Death, and I've referenced earlier how did this movie end up on my radar? Well, Jason Eisner, who is the director of Hobo with a Shotgun, he won this contest with Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino for the Grindhouse movie. He won this trailer contest to make a trailer Grindhouse, like a Grindhouse trailer. And he got the trailer was so well received, he got money and made Hobo with a Shotgun with Rutger Hauer, which is still one of my favorite movies. That movie inspired one of my yet to be released comic book series. And that's how impactful Hobo with a Shotgun was. And I used to follow him on, and I believe I still do. I don't think he's active, but I used to follow him on Tumblr. And he would post about this movie during the production, because I think he was involved with it. And it just seemed like the visuals, the pictures, the poster, it just seemed so interesting. And when this became available on Amazon Prime, that's how we watch it. Essentially, I just jumped to it. I just had to watch this movie, through and through. And I couldn't get through it the first time. I think I crashed out, and it did take me a few attempts to get through the movie. But once I got through the movie, watching and rewatching it became this regular thing. And I pretty much watched it twice before even talking to you, because I just wanted my thoughts on how I was going to speak about this movie, somewhat in order. And again, that's the benefit of Dream Warriors being a podcast and not like a YouTube channel, because you're lucky to get 10 minutes from a film discussion on YouTube. Here, I can go on. I can go on and on. I can pause. I can come back. I can regather my thoughts and so forth. So 2 years later, in 2015, he directs High Rise. The next year, he directs Free Fire. And now we're here at 2018. Happy New Year. So, and then to be... Freak Shift is his next movie. This dude's been busy since 2011. There's a movie called Kill List. So, which is also directed by Amy Jump. Amy Jump seems to be his, somewhat of his collaborator. So... this is kind of where I wish I was sitting with someone who could have been following this, because as much information that we have available today, we're lacking info. We're lacking. Like it's not like if you search for a movie, you can't find info, but it's really hard to find like interviews and even like with YouTube, and you would think some of the stuff would be out there, and it's really not. I didn't look into Ben's career. I didn't look into Ben Wheatley's career at all. I'm also very curious about Amy Jump, what seems to be his frequent collaborator when it comes to writing. Um, like I can't do too much of a deep dive when it comes to the day-to-day aspect of the 31 Days of Dread, but I want to know more about this movie. I really want to know more of what the ideas were, where it came about. Um, what type of, like what was the idea? Like, were they expecting this to be like a cult movie? Were they expecting, like, what were their expectations when they made this movie? Like, what did they want people to get from it? And any movie that kind of opens up the entire process the way A Field in England does is worth everything. Like it's a immensely valuable movie, and but it's also not a movie for the masses, and that's also good because not every book and not every painting and not every even like museum, not every T-shirt is meant for everyone, and it's great that we have our like our likes and our dislikes and movies like this are completely on the fringe. What they do is they magnify, they hone our awareness. So when we see movies, even something like a Van Helsing, we understand that it's the absolute dynamic opposite, and just because of that, if it's with intent, it should be appreciated and kind of should be watched and rewatched. It should not. Like I don't believe making fun of movies is just a thing. Making fun of movies does not make you a critic, because you can't define how well you understand what's in front of you. I think if you make fun of movies and that's like your gag and your gimmick, great. Like if that's your thing, but that doesn't really mean that there's like true film analysis and understanding and thought gone into the meaning injected into even movies like Van Helsing, and we'll even say Independence Day, because we all know I love Independence Day. Yeah, so we're going to just like button this one up, and we're we're movie 3 in our old English film run. Okay, it's The Apostle, it's The Witch, and now it's A Field in England, leading into day 18, and day 18 is going to be The Village. Oh, people, that's a horrible movie. That's a horror movie just in what people say about it and how they feel. And I remember seeing it in the theater. I remember watching trailers for that repeatedly, like, on iTunes, with QuickTime. Just repeat, because those trailers were so impactful and interesting, and M. Night having this track record at the time, even coming off of Unbreakable. He was a dude on fire, and everything leading into The Village just was saying, entertain us, M. Night, entertain us in this fashion. And he had other ideas, and people flipped out. It was almost like a mutiny. But yeah, and that's where he started to lose his core, his base audience. And we're going to talk about that on day 18 of the 31 Days of Dread. I'm going to take another swig. I've talked to you for so long here that my coffee has gone from really hot to lukewarm. And look, everyone, support me as best you can. If you go to AKAPAD.com, there's ways to purchase services on Etsy. You can purchase original artwork. If you're interested in my process for original artwork, there's a lot on my Instagram, AKAPad13, because let's not forget, I came up as an artist. I came up as a comic book illustrator, and like overall artist, because what I'm interested in, and some of my techniques kind of like breach the comic book illustration barrier. But yeah, so I'm still at it. I'm still drawing. Yeah, and I'd still work a 9 to 5. But we want this. We want Dream Warriors and my other efforts. The YouTubing, so on and so forth. We want things to be a little bit more regular, a little bit more consistent, and we want better quality. And sometimes we want people to help us, and for that, I need your support. So anything you can do, even if you want to donate $5 a month, you can. It funds original content, and for that, I thank you. And everyone, have a good day. Don't get too scared out there. I know that cold eastern air is rolling in, and oh my God, everyone get your long coats ready if you're here in Philly, because I know a lot of you are from Philly. And thank you for all my Philadelphians. I love you. But hey, it's Pete. I'm signing out until 18 of the 31 Days of Dread. I'll see you.